What is going on? The Catch fam, I hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope everyone has had a great Monday. Monday Night Football wrapping up. I don't know. We might get overtime in this matchup. So I don't know. Game could continue to go here. We'll see things. Bills driving at the moment. Nonetheless, hopping on here a little bit early. I was going to get on right after the game, but we're here right now to get into some fantasy Q&A for week 2. Can you guys believe it? Week 1 wrapping up as we speak. See if the Bills can pull this off or if it is a Jets victory tonight. But week 2 is here, ladies and gentlemen. Week 1 has come and gone. Lots of changes, okay? Lots of surprises. Week 1 is always a mess. I mean, you guys got to remember, this is the 1 week out of the season where every team has 4 weeks to prepare for their opponent, okay? Defensively and offensively, right? So there's a lot of things that can happen. And just, I don't know. Week 1 is always a complete mess. I mean, that's the reality of things. And here we are with another lousy week 1 of fantasy. But overall, enough positives to maybe outweigh the several negatives that we saw throughout the week. But guys, my biggest message to you after week 1 of the season, do not overreact, okay? Do not panic. I mean, there's some players that maybe we're going to panic on. Maybe we'll overreact on them. But overall, you guys got to remember, it's a long season. It's a long fantasy season, okay? Just, sit tight. Don't completely overreact to what happened in week 1. And things are going to be okay. We're going to get it figured out. But yeah, a lot of doozies in week 1. So, I mean, like I said, room for a little bit of panic, but don't get too far ahead of things. Okay. So, for the purpose of tonight's stream, fantasy Q&A, baby. Anything you guys need, start sits, trades, waiver wire. It's going to be important this week. I mean, this is one of those weeks, the first couple weeks of the season, waiver wire, as important as anything, right? But injury updates, including tonight's one, which we're about to get to, and anything else you guys need, you know what it is. So if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe on the way in. But more importantly, guys, get in the live chat. Anything you guys need, let's get it going. Let's get some fantasy Q&A rolling. I would imagine once the game ends, we'll pick up a little bit here. But right now, we've got 29 seconds, 2nd and 5. The Bills hoping for field goal range. And like I said, this game could easily turn to overtime. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, okay. Aaron Rodgers, 3 snaps in, 4 snaps in, gets sacked, and goes down with the ankle injury. Tried to get up. I mean, didn't look too bad at first, and then had to be helped to the sidelines, and then was carted off the field and, eventually in a boot. And we found out ankle injury, definitely out for the night. Could be an Achilles injury. We don't know. He's supposed to have an MRI either tonight or tomorrow. And then we'll get an actual update. And for me, I'm never going to completely panic until we get the results, the official results. Like right now, we're kind of in a position where we're still speculating to a degree about the Aaron Rodgers situation. I mean, speculation can always be right, but it can always be wrong as well. So am I worried about the Aaron Rodgers situation? Oh, yeah, 100%. It does not look good. It's the fear is that it's an Achilles injury, and that's not good, to say the least. I mean, even an ankle injury it's better, but it's certainly not good. So how does this impact fantasy overall? Well, Garrett Wilson should be okay. I mean, we saw what he could do tonight as long as someone gives him a chance. And I'm going to guess that Zach Wilson's going to be the quarterback that the Jets move forward with if they cannot move forward with Aaron Rodgers. Wilson, his ceiling goes down, undoubtedly. I mean, gosh, you see what he was able to do tonight with Zach Wilson. And it's like, yeah, Garrett Wilson, everything that we liked about him going into the year, everything that we could have hoped for was probably going to happen. I mean, just the sheer talent of Garrett Wilson with Aaron Rodgers was going to be unbelievable to watch. Unfortunately, now it's looking like we're not going to get that. But if you own Garrett Wilson, it's not a good day. I'm not going to lie to you. But don't completely panic because I still think he can have a very good season. Okay. I think he was in like top 5 contention before. Now I think he drops back quite a bit. So, but like he's still gonna be a wide receiver on your team who can play as a wide receiver 1, maybe closer to wide receiver 2 if Rodgers is not coming back. But we got to give it another 24 hours, see what the official report is, and then we'll move from there. But that's the big concern. Now, if you own Breece Hall and or Dalvin Cook, who have got a pretty even split, I mean, like, here's the thing, guys. Without Rodgers at the helm, all the Jets offensive players moved down a little bit overall. I mean, that's just the reality. They're going to be much more efficient with Rodgers at the quarterback position. That's just point blank, period. But now, on the other hand, we could see the Jets start to run the football more. So Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook, I mean, especially the way Hall has looked tonight. I mean, it doesn't look like he's coming off an injury at all. We could certainly see both those guys continue to be productive. I think Allen Lazard takes the biggest hit. I think Allen Lazard needs Aaron Rodgers. Like, the whole reason I liked Lazard as a potential late round guy was because of that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. So it's not a great night for those of you guys who own Jets players, but let's not completely panic yet, as we're getting a 50-yard attempt and Tyler Bass makes it. So game will go on here unless the Jets can do something in 2 seconds. Good drive by the Bills there. So we'll keep rolling here. I was hoping to time that right as the game ended, or maybe a minute or two before, but that's okay. We'll roll for a little bit here. And any fantasy football questions that you guys have, please let me know. So far for the week, we have waiver wire ads out for you guys, and we have must-start defenses / defensive streams out for you guys as well. So make sure you guys go check out those videos. Must-start running backs, must-start wide receivers will drop tomorrow on top of that. So, all right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Shizuto. I got Breece, Laporta, Mike Evans, trade away Kelsey, Mooney, Dynasty League. I'm still not trading Kelsey quite yet. Mooney's a good player to sell at the moment, coming off of last week's game. But I mean, even with this lineup, I'm not. Even with Laporta, Laporta's promising, but if you're going to trade Kelsey, you just better get a haul for him. I guess you can trade him, but yeah, even with his current situation, you better still go out and get a haul for Travis Kelsey if you're going to trade him. LeBron's, what is Wilson's value now? Yeah, like I said, I think Wilson's value is still up there, but it's just the ceiling is capped at the end of the day. That's just the reality of it. So it stinks, but it is what it is. He goes from being a potential top 5 wide receiver on the season to closer to top 15, top 20 range. But he's still a great player to own, I would not be incredibly I think, if Rodgers wasn't there this year, he's probably getting drafted right around where Chris Olave was getting drafted last year. So we're able to see what he can do. And I think the Jets are going to continue, whoever's playing quarterback, whether it's Zach Wilson or someone else, which I don't really think it's going to be anyone else, then they're going to continue to give Wilson opportunities. They just have to. He's too talented to not do so. All right, game is going to overtime. Let's go. Godfather. Usually, sorry, on YouTube, this is going to show us the Aaron Rodgers emojis. Dominic, all I need is a 50-yard field goal from Bass. Oh, let's go. You just got one, bro. It was literally exactly a 50-yard. Are you kidding me? How'd you call that? You sent that way before that actually happened. No way, dude. I hope that actually won you your week. Mark Dobbins panic. If you own Dobbins, you're probably not going to need to roster him the rest of the year, unfortunately. J.K. Dobbins probably would have had 3 touchdowns in that game. He still got you 11.7 fantasy points before he left the game. And then we saw Justice Hill come in and 8 attempts, 2 touchdowns. Dobbins probably would have, would have at least had 2 at worst. But yeah, if you own Dobbins, um, and you're in redraft, you can drop him. If you're in dynasty, like, what are you supposed to do? You probably, as long as there aren't better options, he's probably going to your IR spot because he can return like mid-year last year or next year. So it sucks. Dobbins was going to have a good year, but this was always the fear, right? It's an injury. Night's going well. Yeah, like I said, it depends, and anytime I'm reviewing like a dynasty trade, I want to see a full roster. That's just the reality here is there's too much that goes into a dynasty trade in terms of your total roster that if I can't see it, I don't want to give advice. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I'm not completely ready to sell Kelsey unless you're getting incredible shares. Jerry with the super chat. Thank you so much, my dude. What's up, Jerry Bear? About to pull the comeback. Uh-oh. See, like I'm in so many leagues this year, I'm barely keeping up with what's happening in each league. But wow. I played Spencer and he started Aaron Rodgers and I still lost. I had a bad week. Actually, I didn't even have that bad of a week. Oh, he had the Cowboys defense. C-Mac and Pittman. Other than that, he did not have a good week. Okay, anyways. What do you need to beat him? Oh, you're 2 points down. 2.6 points down. Who do you have? Diggs and Cook. James Cook. And Dalvin Cook. Yeah, you're super close, man. Super close. Oh, that's crazy. That's fine. I hope you beat him. What a perfect week 1 for you, Jerry. Come back against Steven. I love it. Thanks for the super chat, Jerry. Mr. Matt J. Kim, what's up, my guy? I hope A-Rod's okay and is able to make it to the Pat McAfee show tomorrow for Rogers Tuesday. Yeah, if he's like, he's probably not going to be on. Usually, like he'll skip shows every now and then, and I would imagine in this circumstance, he's not going to be on tomorrow. Yeah, Keely's is the rumor and fear. Just awful. Just stinks. All right, Bills get the ball here to start overtime. George, what's going on? You think I should drop Dobbins? You can absolutely drop Dobbins. If you're in Dynasty, like you can keep him on an IR spot, but he's still not going to be back till mid-year next year. Drake London, I don't want to drop yet. I'm not going to completely panic on Drake London. This game script did not benefit London at all. And this Arthur Smith offense, like they're going to run the football before anything, but they're not going to be able to do what they did in week 1 every single week. They're not going to play Bryce Young every single week. It was a great game plan. I talked about that at the very beginning of the stream. Week 1, the only week where teams have 4+ weeks to prepare for their opponents. It was a great game plan. Next week, they get Green Bay, a much better defense. I think Carolina's defense is decent, but Green Bay, a much better defense, more competitive offense overall, and the Falcons will have to throw the football more. That's the reality of things. So I would not drop Drake London. He's not a player that I'm panicking on. Don't forget Devonta Smith had 0 points week 1 last year. Mark, waiver wire. Puka. Puka is my number 1 waiver priority moving forward. Okay. Tutu Atwell's interesting. He had a good game as well. Game script benefited both of these guys. They will be playing from behind in week 2 against San Francisco. Then they get the Bengals, then they get the Colts, then they get Philly. It's not a great 4-week stretch before they face Arizona and Pittsburgh. Arizona actually looked okay defensively. Pittsburgh, I think, will be improved, but God, did they get annihilated. Then they get Dallas and Green Bay. So it's not really a great schedule for the Rams. That's leading up to their bye week in week 10. But still, I think Puka at the moment looks like the Cooper Kupp replacement. Let's not crown him. It's one game and no one can replace Cooper Kupp, but he looks like the number 1 target on this offense. He's my number 1 priority in full PPR leagues. Gainwell, I really like. I like Gainwell all off season, and I'm not giving up on DeAndre Swift after week 1. Call me crazy. Am I benching him? Absolutely. Am I worried? Slightly. But Gainwell completely involved in week one. I really like Gainwell right now because he's tied to the Eagles offense. And ultimately, I do like Gainwell moving forward. He's a guy that, I encourage you guys to draft going into the season. Thought he was a great late round selection. He didn't practice today. He's got a rib injury, but that's another point. It's week one. Injuries are popping up again. People are freaking out about it. Guys, injuries are going to pop up all season long. We'll know if they're serious or not a majority of the time. But Kenneth Gainwell, okay? 14 rushing attempts, 54 rushing yards, 3.8 yards per carry, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 20 receiving yards, 11.4 fantasy points. Rashad Penny was a healthy scratch. DeAndre Swift, I don't even want to talk about. Gainwell is a top priority waiver wire ad moving forward. And oh my gosh, the Jets just scored and I completely missed it. What even happened? I saw that they stopped the Bills, but what happened immediately after? Oh, wait, I'm so confused. What happened in the game? I just looked down and it was did they return the punt? No way. So none of my parlays stood a chance tonight, which I shouldn't have placed a parlay because my main line for the night was the Jets to cover the spread. Wow, what a game. What a game. But yeah, anything else I had in my parlays were ruined because of the Aaron Rodgers thing and the total game script. But what a game for the Jets. Big time victory. Big time victory. All right. I will go Puka, then I will go Gainwell, then Kelly, then Bourne. And guys, I really like Kendrick Bourne. He should be added, but expect disappointment. All right, Aiden, excuse me, 14-team PPR. Should I give up Eckler, Metcalf, Monty, and Hawkinson for Saquon, Amon-Ra, Kincaid, and Javonte? No, I like the first side a lot more. Yeah, I'd rather have Hawkinson than Kincaid. I'd rather have Monty than Javonte. I'd rather have Amon-Ra than DK, but I'd still rather have Eckler than Saquon, so no. Let's see here. Pawn Star Bro. Who should I target with a Rashad White and Dotson trade? I don't know exactly what you're going to get out of that, but I kind of like holding both these guys. Like, that's the thing. They're coming off bad games, disappointing games. And I don't quite know that you're going to get the best value out of them, right? Dotson doesn't have a great matchup in week 2 against the Broncos unless Pat Surtain purely covers Terry McLaurin, which he kind of did with Adams. And, we saw Jacoby Myers benefit from that. Rashad White, on the other hand, I think will bounce back against the Bears. I do like him in week 2. So I think both these guys actually could have better games in week 2, but, it depends on what you need to upgrade on. This is probably a 2-for-1 trade. So it just depends on what value you can get at wide receiver or running back. Oh, it happens, Caleb. It's always week 1 is just a doozy. What's up, Caleb? Hi, you. What's going on? Someone offered CD and Ramondre for Cup and Cooper. No brainer or worth waiting out if I have the depth. I would take that trade. I would take the CD and Ramondre side hands down. Yeah. Yeah. And if you have depth, that's fine. I would still take the trade. I like that trade for you. Caleb traded Dak and traded away Sutton and B Rob in a 2 QB league and dynasty winner. I'll trade. Traded for Dak. Sutton, B-Rob, those guys are fine. But, when it comes to dynasty formats, super flex, double quarterback, whatever it is, at the end of the day, quarterbacks have the most value. Starting quarterbacks have the most value. And I think the trade's fine as long as you have depth elsewhere. But ultimately, guys, I know some people out there panicking about Dak Prescott. I would not panic about Prescott, okay? Yeah, he had a bad fantasy game. We got to remember, NFL teams do not care about our fantasy points whatsoever. Dak didn't need to do anything in this game. He I mean, they didn't even need to have Dak out there. They could have pulled him after the second quarter. I mean, like, guys, he just didn't. The offense didn't need to do a single thing. He didn't have any turnovers. There's nothing to worry about. The stat line sucks, but like the defense was humming from the Giants' first play. Everything was in front. Like it just Dak didn't need to do anything. Don't panic about him. Now he does play the Jets in week 2, who just made Josh Allen look like an awful quarterback. And they get Arizona, New England, San Francisco. That's what worries me about Dak right now more than anything. But if you trade him right now, you're not going to get great value. But after that, he gets the Chargers, a bye week, the Rams, Philly, the Giants, Carolina, Washington, Seattle. It evens out a little bit. But those first couple of weeks offensively could be tough. And like, I mean, Arizona's still a good matchup, but Arizona looked 10 times better than we thought they were going to look in week 1. I mean, they matched Washington for what it's worth. Albert, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Trade JSN for Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Rendon, I don't. If it's in, is this redraft or dynasty? If it's dynasty, no. If it's redraft, I think that's okay. Mitch Hamill's got a donut from London and Higgins after Eckler and Chubb smashed. Yeah, man. Couple goose eggs out there. Goddard also there. Should I start Breece Hall now with confidence? Yeah, he's a good RB2 flex option. Opinions on Goddard, don't panic. Just, it'll be okay. Don't panic on him. Don't panic on Goddard. My trade worked out. Geno for Tua. Tyreek Waddle stack picked up or paid off big this week. Let's go. Thinking on trying to trade Cam Akers. I have Breece on the bench. Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, yeah, there was some concerning usage out of some RB2s in week 1, but I would not panic on Bijan Robinson. I would not panic on Austin Eckler. I would not completely panic on Cam Akers, but I did tell you guys on the Sunday morning stream, we were talking about Cam Akers, and I said, Sean McVay can get really weird when it comes to the goal line and running backs. And that was one thing that I got right for the weekend. Kyron Williams, 17.4 fantasy points, 52 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. So it wasn't just on the goal line, but, you know, we've seen this before with Sean McVay where he starts to rotate more than one back, okay? Akers should have had a better game, but he didn't because, well, Kyron Williams, quite frankly, played better. 1.32 yards per carry for Cam Akers, 3.47 yards per carry for Kyron Williams, and he vultured more touchdowns. Now, regardless, guys, proceed with caution. San Francisco in week 2, not a good matchup for either of these backs. If you're looking to trade Cam Akers, you have Breece Hall, I think that's fine. But just remember, I mean, our Cam Akers is in a position where you're buying him low. So just remember that. 30th on the Best Ball Mania 4 regular season board. Let's go. But that was the team that lost. Oh. Yeah, I kept checking my weekly winners for week 1. Nothing happened, J-Dubs. I was sad. Kyron and Puka look like great waiver ads, but I'd sell Puka high after next week. Couple come back and eat up the target share. Yeah, I mean, we did get that report when it comes to Cooper Kupp that he could be coming back after week 4, but I'm still proceeding with caution with Kupp. But yeah, once again, I mean, this is a much tougher matchup overall for the Rams in week 2. I mean, the Seahawks really surprised me. I thought that defense was going to be really, really improved from last year, and they weren't even bad last year. They really surprised me. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens week 2. The Steelers, if they couldn't pull it off, we'll see what the Rams can do. Yeah, I literally just like I just looked down and it was like end of game. Yeah, that sucks, Jerry. I really thought you were going to pull it off against Steven. No way, bro. What's up, Prey? Smokey, first Burrow handed me a loss in week 1. Now Allen not scoring 2 touchdowns, preventing me from 500. Yeah, man. Week 1's a doozy. It always, always, always is. I really liked the Jets to cover the spread tonight. But of course, I just threw down 2 like parlays, small money. Damn, lost my home league by 0.8. Yeah, man. Happens. Oh yeah, Gibson is good. That's okay, that's cool. That's who it was. I could barely see. I had it on my phone, so I wasn't taking up like so tried to stream before and play a game off of another tab, and it's like mess up my stream. So pray your team did well. You absolutely destroyed me. Congrats. James Cook or Rashad White rest of the season. I mean, James Cook usage was very good tonight, but don't give up on Rashad White. I think he's going to bounce back in week 2 against the Bears. And like, James Cook, 12 carries, 46 yards on the ground, 3.83 yards per carry, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 17 receiving yards. He still gave you 10 fantasy points in full PPR tonight. So, bad game script, tough matchup. He gets the Raiders next weekend. Should be a better game for, and that's a home game. Should be a much better game for the Bills overall. But nonetheless, when it comes to a rest of season question, we're not quite there yet, guys. I mean, that's just the reality. We're not quite there. Okay. I don't make calls for the entire season or even like the next couple of weeks based off of week 1. Just it's hard to say. We can't go by just one game yet. But what we saw to James Cook tonight was much more promising than what we saw to Rashad White in week 1. Definitely targeting Kelly. I mean, I like Kelly as well. And, Eckler has the ankle injury popping up, but he's always a little dinged up. Don't forget it, guys. And Josh Kelly looked very promising. I mean, he had the same amount of rushing attempts as Eckler. Eckler, 5 targets. Kelly just 1 target, but 16 rushing attempts for both. 5.69 yards per carry by Kelly, 91 rushing yards and a touchdown. But still 117 rushing yards for Eckler, 7.3 yards per carry by Eckler. I mean, come on, the man's amazing. 11.7 yards per catch. And, kind of surprising by the Dolphins defense. I thought they would put up a little bit more of a fight, but I mean, I feel like anytime the Dolphins play now, we want to fire up whoever's playing against them. They're just going to be a team that's going to allow their defense to bend and allow their offense to go out there and just roll. But yeah, Kelly should be a priority ad because he's an amazing handcuff. And that's the thing. Like, we were just talking about, I kind of didn't really finish my full thoughts there. I just went over Kyron Williams and Cam Akers, but yeah, Kelly looks like he has standalone value. I mean, they're at Tennessee, at Minnesota, then at home against the Raiders the next 3 weeks before they have a bye week. These should be good tests to see what Kelly's usage really looks like. And then on the other hand, when it comes to Tyler Algier, like Bijan Robinson was kind of similar to Jahmyr Gibbs, eased into his first game. And Algier also looks like he has standalone value, which is something we talked about in the offseason, right? 15 rushing attempts, 75 rushing yards, 5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions off of 3 targets, 19 receiving yards, 6.3 yards per catch for Algier. And Bijan, on the other hand, 10 attempts, 56 rushing yards, 5.6 yards per carry, 6 receptions off of 6 targets, 27 receiving yards, and a touchdown. So 20 fantasy points for Bijan, 24 for Tyler Algier. I think things could come back to earth a little bit in week 2. A tougher opponent, a better defense. I think they're at Detroit, at Jacksonville. These next 3 weeks are going to be very telling. So, when it comes to Kelly, when it comes to Algier, I like both of them. We need to pick them up, but I don't know if the standalone value is going to be there every single week. I think that they are 2 very promising handcuffs, to say the least, though. So they are still priority waiver additions. Should we worry about Eckler's injury? No. He'll be all right. Crying because I have Garrett Wilson. That video, Rodgers' ankle doesn't look good. He can clearly see the Achilles area rapidly shake for a second. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Wilson did okay tonight, though. They just have to continue to give him opportunities. He's like, when you're inside the 30, you just got to throw it up to him. 14.4 fantasy points. He caught every ball tonight. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 34 receiving yards, and a touchdown. 6.8 yards per catch for Wilson. His ceiling drops, but we have to continue to start him. Start both Bijan and Algier in Dynasty. Is that relying too much on the Falcons? I do think it's relying too much. It's, if you did it week 1, well, something. You're probably pretty happy, but we just have to kind of look at things here for these Falcons running backs. Like I said, Green Bay next week, then at Detroit, at Jacksonville. And they do get Houston in week 5, which is probably positive, although Texans defense, their secondary still looks okay. Okay. Uh, then they get Washington, then they're at Tampa Bay, then they're at Tennessee. This is a really rough stretch overall for the Falcons running backs before they face Minnesota, and then they're at Arizona weeks 9 and week 10. But Bijan's going to get it done. That's my belief. And I think Algier has enough standalone value, but it just depends on who else you have. But I mean, seriously, this is a super tough stretch outside of Houston in week 5, coming up through week 8 for the Falcons running backs. But it depends on who else you have. I mean, at least we know at the end of the day that Arthur Smith still has an obsession with running the football. How worried are we about Christian Kirk? I'm not worried at all, baby. It was a Calvin Ridley show. We kind of expected that. And, quite frankly, I'm glad that Calvin Ridley did his thing. Zay Jones, he's not gone. Don't forget about him. Evan Engram played pretty well. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, everyone looked good. This offense is going to be very good this year. Christian Kirk will be fine. He had a couple games last year where he completely disappeared. Sucks to see it happen in week 1. If it sucks for anyone, it sucks for me. I think I probably drafted more Christian Kirk than any man on earth has ever drafted a fantasy player throughout the offseason. But I'm not going to panic quite yet. They get Kansas City next week. I'm expecting some fireworks in that game. Let's hope Kelsey is out there. Then they get Houston, then Atlanta, then Buffalo, then the Colts again in week 6. So I think a couple good games coming up for us to see how this Jaguars offense continues to progress as a unit. So I'm not panicked on Kirk whatsoever. When we look at last year, 8 points in week 4, 2 points in week 5, 7 in week 8, then 8 in week 12, 9 in week 14, 5 in week 16, 4 in week 17, and was still a top 11 wide receiver last year. But all of those marks are still better than what he did in week 1, but week 5 barely better. And that was against Houston. Nonetheless, 3 targets, 1 reception, 9 receiving yards, not promising, but I think things will even out here. I'm not panicking on Kirk. I'm not allowed to panic on Kirk. I own him in too many leagues. I actually think Kirk is a good wide receiver to go target in trades at the moment because you're not going to be paying much for him. Would you play Ayuk over Garrett Wilson? Man, I really like Ayuk. I want that on the record. I want it on the record. I told you guys to start Brandon Ayuk week 1. It depends on who else you have, but I do think Ayuk is a player who's going to be in your lineups on a week-to-week basis, whether he's your wide receiver 2 or your flex option. So I still think Garrett Wilson should be in your starting lineups as well. The Niners play the Rams next week, so I'm probably starting Brandon Ayuk. But that doesn't mean that I think that you should bench Garrett Wilson. But he does play Dallas next week, and they're at Dallas before they get New England in week 3. These next 2 weeks could be pretty tough for this Jets offense. So Algier would start with caution, but he does see goal line carries. Fair. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe in week 2 against the Cowboys, I'm sitting Wilson, but it just depends on who else you have. Tommy, good to see you, bro. Tough week, lost all 4. Yeah. I mean, don't panic, guys. Even if you lost all 4 matchups in week 1, it is a long season. Do not panic yet, guys. There's a lot of time left. Won $10 in weekly winners. Let's go, baby. I haven't even checked. Need Bills defense to get 7. They got 6, lost by 1. Oh, my goodness. The ghost of Kendrick Bourne. He's back. One of my most drafted players in Underdog last year. Yeah, week 1's always a smack you in the face type of week, right? I mean, what are we going to do? Tua or Lawrence going forward? Also, how are you liking Calvin Ridley? I mean, I love Calvin Ridley. The majority of the offseason, especially towards the end, really, really grew on him. No reason to dislike Calvin Ridley the rest of the year. Tua or Lawrence, a very interesting question. Tua, one of the top quarterbacks on the week in week 1, of course, at 28 fantasy points. And week 1 for quarterbacks was certainly a doozy. I mean, if you're rostering both these guys, I think that's fine. But yeah, I mean, Mac Jones had 25 fantasy points. And then Jordan Love had 23. If I'm not mistaken, those are your top 3 quarterbacks in week 1. I think Mahomes was number 4, but I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, Josh Allen, 12 points. Jalen Hurts, 12 points. Lamar, 7 points. Burrow, 3 points. Fields, 15 points. Herbert at 20 points, so he's top 5. T-Lod, 18 points. Those guys did okay. Prescott, 6 points. Watson at 21 points. Watson had a good game. Rodgers got hurt. Cousins, 17 points. Anthony Richardson, booming at 21 points. I hope that man is healthy. I want to watch him play. Geno, 9 points. Danny Dimes, 6 points. Goff had a decent game, 14 points. Purdy, everyone laughed at me. Purdy had a good game, but he should have done more in the second half, although he just didn't really need to. But 16 points for Purdy. Carr at 15 points. Russell looks the same as last year, 15 points. But that's probably just about everyone. Maybe Stafford, 14 points. Sam Howell maybe got crazy, 16 points. But yeah, I mean, Mac Jones, Jordan Love, and Tua were your top scoring quarterbacks in week 1. So, I don't want to choose one based off of week 1. I don't. If you're rostering both, I think it's okay for now. And Ridley's going to be fun. Jets defense is legit. Pick them up. You play Dallas, New England. I think those matchups are still okay. Kansas City week 4 is going to be a big test. Then they get Denver, then they get Philly. Kansas City and Philly, big tests. But they're worth picking up for sure. And they might be one of those teams that we can just start. Last year you just start the Cowboys no matter what, right? So picked up Jets defense right before kickoff. Nice. How do you like James Cook? I'm fine with James Cook. I mean, I liked him going into this matchup. My guess was that the Jets were going to do a good job of stopping the run, and that was going to force the Bills to throw the football more, including dumping it off to Cook. So we saw a bit of that tonight. Tony, are they worth the top waiver? I wouldn't say so. I'm still going for skill position, guys. Is Fields still a must-start QB? Yes. Don't panic on Fields. He gets the Bengals, or no, excuse me, he does not get the Bengals in week 2. He gets the Bucks. This is going to be a big test because they put some pain down on Captain Kirko. But yeah, let's not completely panic on him. But what we saw out of Fields throwing the football, I have to admit, was not promising. And that connection with DJ Moore, I mean, Jair Alexander just strapped him to pieces. So, I mean, I have to admit that it's looking slightly bleak, but I'm not going to completely give up on Fields yet. Tommy, have to drop the Ravens defense for the Jets. Yeah, both are good. Yeah, Fields still worth starting due to the rushing upside. I agree. Yeah, we just can't sit him yet. I mean, the rushing side of things still good. 9 attempts, 59 rushing yards, 6.5 yards per carry. So, I mean, Lamar at 6.3, but I don't think any other quarterback, I mean, even Hurts was at 4.1. I don't think any other quarterback came close. Yeah, gosh, the Jets, it's 20 fantasy points tonight. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, the Ravens defense I like. I think they're going to have their moments this year. They'll probably still be top 10 pretty easily. But, I mean, they had 12 points in week 1. But that was purely as a streaming option. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They have Cincinnati, Indy, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Tennessee. There's going to be moments where we're going to want to start them. So it just depends. I don't think you really need to roster more than one defense. So if you set Fields, he gets 30 points. That's true. Yeah, probably not going to be good for Rodgers. Feelings on Sutton rest of season. I mean, I still think Sutton is okay. But he has more value when Judy's out, which we saw. And there were 2 positives this past weekend. Judy was out. First positive. Second positive, soft matchup. They get Washington next week. They don't have a great secondary. before they get Miami. Xavier Howard's still a good corner. Then they get Chicago. So there's soft enough matchups here before they face the Jets in week 5 and then Kansas City, Green Bay. Kansas City's probably fine, but I think Sutton is what we thought he was going to be going into the year. He's a perfectly fine like flex option. He was good value where we drafted him, but he's never going to be a guy who's going to put you over the top. Like he's just, that low floor, low ceiling, or decent floor, high ceiling play, I guess I should say. Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, when Judy comes back, things are going to change a bit. Thank you for telling me to start Brandon Ayuk over Jamal Williams. No problem. Easy start there. Good to see you hit an X. Lost by 0-3 points, man. That punt return F me over. Need Brees to get one more carry. Yeah, it happened to a lot of people tonight, man. Stinks. Need another catch from Wilson. Yeah, we had a lot of close calls tonight. A lot of close calls. Zach Wilson, Jets starter rest season might be. Would you start Madison or Dotson at flex going into week 2? It's a good question. I had that really weird, I said it a couple times going through Underdog Pick'ems, had a really weird suspicion Alexander Madison was going to score a touchdown in week 1. Of course, that wasn't on any of my Pick'em cards, but he did. He was pretty inefficient, though. 11 attempts, 34 rushing yards, 3 yards per carry, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 10 receiving yards, and that 1 receiving touchdown. Like 73% snap share. He gets Philly next week. It wasn't a great matchup against Tampa Bay. It's probably not a great matchup next week. But I see the Vikings being in a similar position they were next week. That are similar to this past week. So, I mean, Madison's probably okay, but I still think the upside lies with Dotson. Dotson, a bummer in week 1. We expected him to have a big game, but Terry McLaurin had 5 points. Dotson had 9 points. He had the better game, but still 7 targets compared to McLaurin's 4 targets. But yeah, I mean, Curtis Samuel overall was the best fantasy performer with 11 fantasy points. So I mean, bleh. They get Denver in week 2. It's not a great matchup on paper, but Pats retained should be on McLaurin. That should help Dotson. Full PPR, I'd probably go Dotson. Dotson's upside play. Madison gives you the floor. So just won by 0.68 points. Should I trade JJ for Diggs and Barkley? No. I mean, it's a pretty fair trade, but no. I'm not trading JJ. How many? I mean, JJ's stat line in the first quarter was like, he should have done way more in the game. He actually didn't do much in the second half of the game, which may have not been his fault, but we just can't. It's a pretty decent trade, Dominic, but I just can't do it. I can't. Should I drop Kincaid? I'm starting Higbee as my tight end. I'm debating to pick up Hurst instead of Higbee or instead of Kincaid. Well, maybe it is instead of Higbee. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'd really tried to warn you guys when we were getting into this range of tight ends with all the injuries floating around. Like, when we get into this range of tight ends, they're all touchdown dependent. Like, it's very rare we're going to see a guy with enough volume in terms of receptions, in terms of overall targets, that we're going to be able to just purely start one of these tight ends. And if they don't score, like, they're going to have a good game. So if you drop Kincaid, I mean, just don't be surprised if he ends up doing some of the things we thought he was going to do. He still had 4 targets and 4 receptions in this game. They have a softer matchup next week. And when it comes to Higbee, like, he was severely under targeted in comparison to what we thought he was going to be, but we saw 2 really good games out of 2 wide receivers we weren't expecting. And Van Jefferson still had 5 targets, but they get San Francisco in week 2. It's going to be a very different game. So, here's the thing I'll say about Hayden Hurst is he does look like the top priority ad in terms of the tight end position. So I'm okay with that, but he has a tough matchup in week 2 against the Saints. The Saints are a good team against opposing tight ends. So keep that in mind. And when we look at Ertz, he got, good usage. He was targeted in the red zone, 8 fantasy points. It looks like Josh Dobbs was, trying to build that chemistry, which is promising. But once again, like I guarantee it. I don't want to guarantee it, but I think there's a really strong chance that if you pick up Hurst and you start him next week, he probably doesn't score a touchdown. And there's a chance that Higbee or Kincaid outscores him. This range at tight end is really difficult to call. Really, really difficult to call. So I think the best thing to do is to look at matchups and trust your gut here. So, I think Hurst next week against the Saints, he should still continue to get that volume. It's a Monday night game. When we look at Ertz, he gets the Giants. That could change at any time. The volume he's getting with the quarterback situation there. I do think Higbee is worth rostering. I think Kincaid's worth rostering. So if you drop the one that you like the least for Hurst, I think that's okay. If you want to put in the second priority for Ertz, I think that's okay. And I think Hunter Henry's the other guy who's kind of popping up that we want to consider as well in terms of waiver wire ads. But once again, guys, these calls at tight end, I'm just going to tell you straight up that your guess is as good as mine. I mean, like, if they don't score a touchdown, we're just not looking at good stat lines more than likely. Jets can make a playoff push without Rodgers. I mean, it is true. It is true. Start Kirk, you said. He'll be good, you said. I know. Tough week 1, boys and girls. Yeah, Sauce didn't look. I mean, actually, I would say the secondary as a whole, outside of Whitehead, did not look that great at times. Calvin really looked like a second rounder, Yeah. I just keep going back. There's one league, my home league, my keeper league, where I had the 1.12. I almost took Ridley at the 2.1. And I took Devontae Adams. I think Adams, if you own Adams, I think he's going to be okay. I drafted Ridley second in the catch league. Yeah. A lot of people did go out and get him the second. Maybe Jacobs is saying he's proven he was worth the second rounder. Breece Hall season. Breece Hall looked great tonight. Fantastic. Feeling on B-Rob versus season with Gibson. I mean, B-Rob, let's look at the usage between the two, but B-Rob looked good. Gibson was a disappointment. Gibson had 35% snap share, didn't even score a single fantasy point, 9 yards on the ground, 1 reception for 10 receiving yards, lost a fumble. Just disgusting. Brian Robinson, on the other hand, had 19 rushing attempts, 59 yards on the ground, 2 targets, 1 reception, 1 touchdown, 13 fantasy points. So B-Rob is the guy that we continue to fire up. When we look at these like committees for the running back position, we just need to ride the hot hand. That's all you can do. And then if we start to see things kind of going back and forth, well, then we make a different call. But for now, we're rolling with Brian Robinson. Oh, little Bunny Hop, what's up, man? Good to see you. Jordan Love era, let's go. Just saw a report A-Rod's done for the season. Oh my gosh, dude. It's just you couldn't even like ask for a worse way to end week 1. There's nothing possible. I mean, so excited for what this team was going to do. But I mean, geez. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any official reports, but I believe you guys. Just tough. Let's see here. Well, I mean, Rap Sheet is reporting Aaron Rodgers fear to have torn his Achilles if the MRI confirms he's out for the season. I mean, just awful, man. I mean, even if you don't like Rodgers, even if you don't like the Jets, even if you don't like the Packers, whatever it is, like this hurts football overall and it hurts fantasy overall. So you have to hate it. Unless like you're playing Garrett Wilson in the champion. I don't know, but you just have to hate it. Mo Diesel, what's up? Half PPR, 2 flex, 12 man. Can I ride this team out? Dak, ETN, Walker, Chubb, Cup, Hollywood, Andrews, Scary Terry, and Cowboys defense. Have nobody on the bench. Yes, you can absolutely ride it out. And if you have nobody good on the bench, that might be okay. Go aggressive at the waiver wire. Shake things up. But yeah, guys, it's 1 week. Things are going to be different. Like Dak, I'm not worried about. Dak did not have to do a single thing in that game. Okay. The defense was basically the quarterback. It's fine, I guess. Hurts us in fantasy, but it happens. Etienne looked good. Walker looked good. Chubb looked good. Those guys are fine. Yeah, wide receiver, you might have some issues. Go aggressive each, maybe not each week, but there's going to be enough weeks where you can go out and get valuable players at wide receiver. Go out and get Puka. Do what you have to do. You can definitely, even if you guys feel like you're in a really bad position, you can ride things out. It's going to be okay. It's a long season. Shane, what's good, my guy? Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, just a tough night. Football. How much does A-Rod's injury affect Garrett Wilson's value? Yeah. So, Wilson drops back pretty significantly, but he's still a player that we're starting due to talent on a weekly basis. You got to imagine the Jets are going to continue to feed him. But yeah, we touched on this throughout the stream already. Like, Wilson is a player who goes from top 5 potential back to like top 15, top 20. Unfortunately. Would you rather stash Charbs, Kyron Williams, or Roshan Johnson? Call me crazy, but Charbs. Torn Achilles, yeah. What a crap week 1. Underdog isn't refunding the Roger prop. I don't think any sports books are, and you guys have to understand when you get into entering these types of contests that you need to read the fine details. And I think what it is there's usually a clause. I think Rogers played either 3 or 4 snaps. And if usually it's like one or less snaps, 1 or less snap. So 0 snaps or 1 snap is going to exclude them. But if they haven't made an official statement, then give it 24 hours. But yeah, I don't see any of the major sports books doing so either. So it's just kind of the way that it rolls. But yeah, because the special for the night was over 0.5. I'm a little bit surprised, but give it 24 hours because I would not be surprised if they change that. And they're going to have to go through and change all of those, particular lineups to, they're not going to probably refund the entire thing, but they'll probably nullify the Rogers part. But I would give it 24 hours. I wouldn't panic on it yet. It's not as easy of a fix to just nullify it right away. It's probably going to be like a 24-hour thing. But yeah, there is technically usually a clause that, in most major sports books that the player, if they play 1 snap, then usually it is what it is. Brandon, I have Allen and Diggs. I lost by 2 playing the Jets defense because of that return. Yeah, tough. A lot of tough week 1 lines for you guys. Have JJ and Ridley and catch family. That's beautiful. Yeah, we talked about that a lot in the offseason in mock drafts. Like, if you have that 1.1, Calvin Ridley was just such a nice play at that turn. Let's go. Stephen Joe, what's up, man? What's up, my dude? Number 1 waiver, could use a running back. Do I burn it on Kyron? I don't really trust that backfield. Do I use it on Puka and save my waiver entire or save? No, go out and get. Go Puka first, in my opinion, then go Kyron. But it depends on who else is available as well. If you really need a running back, there are other names. Justice Hill of the Ravens. Once again, a hard backfield to trust, but he's the guy who was getting the touches in the goal line, so he's a guy to look at. Joshua Kelly, Kenneth Gainwell, I think is going to continue to get good use as well. And Roshan Johnson is worth a strong look, but we got to understand that he got a lot of those points in in garbage time as well. So, but there are other options. But yeah, it's week 1. This is the time to go get aggressive on the waiver wire. Full PPR, wide receiver 3, start Flowers, Cooper, Pickens. Yeah, I really like Flowers moving forward. I think Flowers is going to have I have been a fan of Flowers for months now, but yeah, as long as Odell and Bateman are healthy, and even when Andrews comes back, I continue to like Flowers. The defenses are going to have to start switching things up. It's really going to help this offense, but don't panic on Cooper. I think Cooper is going to be fine. Game script didn't help him, but I like Cooper. I probably go Cooper, Flowers, and Pickens. Yeah, Ken got good usage for week 1 tight end. Would I play Hunter Henry over Higbee? That's That's tough. Once again, I mean, 1 week, small sample size here. These tight ends are tough calls. Nonetheless, I mean, the Patriots get the Dolphins. I probably like that matchup more. I strongly consider it for sure. Any concerns on Goddard? No. Too soon to be concerned. No. What should I do with Garrett Wilson? Just hold him. Just hold him. It's going to be okay. I mean, it sucks, but it's going to be okay. Want to hear a fancy story that'll blow your mind? Yes. What's up, Kyle? Joe, Saquon and Pollard for Diggs and JT. No, I keep the Saquon and Pollard side. Pollard, I think, has top 5 potential, and Saquon does as well. So, no. Hunter Henry over Higbee. Yeah, matchup, I think so. Week 1 was a little rough. I went 8-6, but so I'm on the winning side of things. Had some tough losses, though, that's for sure. Patriots are going to be forces to pass. Strength of schedule is one of the strongest. Yeah. Long story short, I played against Hill, won 97-95 thanks to that 50-yard field goal by Bass. That's the second person to win tonight by the 50-yard field goal. If it was 49, I would have only gotten 3 points. I was at 92. Yeah. Second person tonight who that field goal won, and a couple of you guys lost from it. Yeah, I guess MetLife Field needs to be under investigation now. Jeez Louise. Awful. Cup, Dobbins, Rogers, Wilson, traded Ayuk, drop Jets D. Oh, okay. Well, I'll move along, Space Ghost. Should I sell Garrett Wilson or trade him? Well, these would be the same things, right? I would hold him. I would hold him. Kyle had Dobbins. Yeah. What are we going to do? Should I pick up Gainwell or Nuka? I had Dobbins, but Brian Robinson, Miles Sanders, and Gibbs. London did me dirty. Should I bail for Nuka? Which one we should? Don't drop London. Don't panic on London to the point where we're dropping him. He's still the wide receiver 1 for the Falcons. Good game plan that did not benefit him in fantasy whatsoever. Don't drop him. But you have pretty decent running backs here, so it depends on your wide receivers. But put in a waiver for both. They're both guys that we need to be going after. So Randy says no red. I don't know what that was in reference to. Saquon and Pollard for Diggs. Yeah, I keep the Saquon and Pollard side. Don't trade Wilson yet. He was still a top option. Was Wilson? His ceiling has been capped. His ceiling has been capped, but keep him. I agree. Oh, you were talking to Red. Okay, sorry. I was like, no Red. That makes sense. Let's see. Wilson be a wide receiver 2 or flex? 100%. 100%. Give the Jets. Aaron Rodgers took them 4 plays to kill his career. I know. It's awful. I have A-Rod in 1 league. Punting quarterback. I put a waiver for Love. Rate these quarterbacks. Love, Howe, Purdy, Mac, Pickett. It's pretty close here. Love is number 1. I'm going Purdy number 2, baby. Hey, I made pretty good calls on my quarterback streaming options for the week for my video. I had Goff, Purdy, Love. I did okay. I think the play calling this year is significantly better for New England. I think we saw that in week 1. But ultimately, I don't want to overreact to Mac Jones. I mean, I've always liked Mac Jones. He gets Miami next week. It's a good matchup. But then he gets the Jets, Dallas, and the Saints. So I'll be a little leery of that. But I think week 2 is okay to fire at Mac Jones. But I don't think he's going to be more than a pure streaming option. So I would go Love for sure. Then Purdy. Then Mac. He's got a good matchup this week. Then Howell, then Pickett. But yeah, let's not sleep on Purdy. Yeah, I go Love and Purdy for sure. My top 2, Tommy. It happens, Space Ghost. There's a lot of time to save your guys this season. It's just 1 week. Yeah, it's just a lot of time, DeAndre Swift season. Dang, man. What happened to us, bro? What happened? Where was Swift? Dropping Dobbins and Mitchell for Gainwell and Tua. Yeah, do it. Streaming a defense. Oh, yeah. You see, you got time to patch things up. Hunter Henry or Hurst. Well, I mean, Hurst did really get good, volume and usage. And I think that is important for a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young. 7 targets, 5 receptions. So it's close here heading into week 2, but it's a better matchup for Hunter Henry. So I might roll with Henry. Dalvin Cook sell for what value? I mean, I still think I don't know what value you're going to get out of Dalvin Cook at the moment. 13 rushing attempts, 33 rushing yards, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 8.9 fantasy points. He gets Dallas, New England the next 2 weeks. I mean, what do you think you can get for him? You're going to have to go for a team that like whoever lost Dobbins, that's your best chance. Go target a 1-for-1 that you think is fair on that trade. Yeah, I do like Henry in week 2 against Miami. Gary Wilson and Amon-Ra, you're homely. Nice, Tommy. Traded A-Rod and Addison for Herbie before the game. I mean, yeah, you killed it, bro. Like, if you traded Aaron Rodgers right before the game, like, you got Herbert, Khalil Herbert, or Justin Herbert. I'm going to assume Justin Herbert. But if you did, then that was a phenomenal trade. And I like Addison. I think Addison's going to have a good season in terms of rookies. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 61 receiving yards, and a touchdown, 16 fantasy points in week 1. Good game script for him. Good enough matchup, but yeah, it was positive performance. But especially if A-Rod was your starting quarterback, you upgraded significantly. If Rodgers was like your bench quarterback and you just grabbed Herbert for your bench, it's not awful, but let me see. 12-man, Chubb, Gibbs, CD, D-Hop, and Joku Johnson. Would you trade Gibbs and Johnson for Devontae and Pierce? Wait, which Johnson? Deontay Johnson? I mean, who's your RB2 then? Oh, you get Pierce? This is close. I don't know if I'm ready to trade Gibbs. I'm not worried about Gibbs. I'm not panicked about Gibbs. I'm not sad Gibbs had the amount of points he had in week 1. Gibbs is going to get better each and every game. I would guarantee that. I might keep Gibbs. The Deontay thing, like it helps pretty significantly with that. And I think Devontae's value for Gibbs's value is fair. I think Pierce is probably worth rostering over Deontay right now, just because of the injury purely. But I think ultimately you keep Gibbs in that RB2 spot, too much upside. Perfect player to have behind Chubb. CD's still going to lead you. D-Hop, like I know like these guys didn't play great week 1, but a lot of that was game script. I don't think I'd do the trade personally. Lamb still had 77 receiving yards somehow in that awful game. Gets the Jets next week. But, I think he's going to be fine. He's going to have a great year. Hopkins still gave you a good week 2 at 13.5 fantasy points, 65 receiving yards, and what a gross game. I think you keep your team as is, personally. Different league, I traded Olave, Andrews, and Hall for Diggs, Gibbs, and Pitts. I mean, this is pretty close. These type of trades are always like, we won't really know until the end of the season. But, Olave versus Diggs, I like Olave a lot, but I still take Gibbs. I take Andrews over Pitts. Hall versus Gibbs. That's a tough one to call at the moment. I think it's pretty even, but I think the only and I mean, tight end's such a crapshoot right now that I think this trade's fine. I'd rather have Diggs than Olave. Gibbs and Hall is really, really, really close. Really close. I still rather have Andrews and Pitts, but I think the trade's okay. Let's see. I know, right? He'll get worked in. It's a long season. No worries, Black Yeti. That's what we're here for. Browns defense looks good. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's not an anomaly, and we'll see it. I mean, they get the Steelers in week 2, so they might be a unit that we had to really consider picking up. So keep an eye on them. They get Pittsburgh, Tennessee before they have Baltimore bye week in San Francisco. So next 2 weeks at least, they're worth a stream. Yeah. Pickett and company did not look great. Marcus, I have Tua, Richardson, Bijan, ETN, Kamara, Amon-Ra, Amari, D-Hop, Addison, Pitts, Chig, Jets defense, 12 man full PPR. Is there any position that needs to be upgraded? No. You're fine, man. Team looks good, especially when Kamara comes back. I mean, depth at running back is going to help you. You should be going, in terms of your bench, going after some of these waiver wire running backs that are popping up. But no, team looks good. Tua and A-Rich, promising week ones. Bijan, ETN, good. Kamara should help out down the stretch, but you need, depth at running back's not going to hurt. But Amon-Ra, Amari Cooper, D-Hop, Addison, nice. Tight end's going to be kind of a crapshoot between Pitts and Chig, but how are you really supposed to upgrade right now? Yeah, I mean, getting Herbert off of a player who just got injured is going to miss the whole year is a win. So, do you think I should trade away Garrett Wilson? No. How many games till Kellen Moore becomes head coach? I don't know. I don't know if he really wants to be. We'll see. Yeah, Garrett Wilson downgrades, but we don't trade him. Yeah, that's fine. Debo's still a good flex, even though he had a bad week one. I mean, Debo, going into the year, I kept telling you guys, if he falls to you at the right value, he's a flex. He's a boomer bust guy, but you have to take him. He still had 11 fantasy points in week one. And who did I really encourage you guys to draft? Who was a must start in my must start wide receiver video in week one? Yeah, Brandon Ayuk. But I mean, so was DeAndre Swift in the running back video. So thoughts on Cardinals versus Giants? Yes, I do like them, but I also like the Giants defense in this game. I like both defenses in this game. First year with Eckler, he's questionable for an ankle. Don't worry about it. He's always a little dinged up. He was questionable more than once last year and the year before that. Like, it's going to be okay. I mean, yeah. Jada says go pick up Kelly. That's fine. Go pick him up. But Eckler's going to be fine. Yeah, always gets banged up. Watch the report. I agree. We got you, Marcus. Of course, man. Here's one. Should I trade Amari for T, or is that equal of trade? I mean, it is, but I don't think you need to. I mean, Higgins, if you buy Higgins right now, you want to buy him low. Like you don't want to be giving away a bona fide starter like Amari Cooper. So I wouldn't do so. If you want to go out and buy Higgins, that's one thing, but I don't want to give up a player like Amari Cooper for it. Yeah, buy low on T. But yeah, T Higgins a great buy low target for sure. John, I lost by 1.9. I had Tyreek. No, it was a weird week, man. It was a weird week. Week one's always a doozy. Trade Tua for Burrow. Guy who has Burrow has Hill. I don't think I would. I kind of like Tua and Richardson right now. Maybe it's recency bias. If it was before the season, we'd be saying absolutely. I mean, I think Burrow's going to be fine. But Tua right now just looks like one of these players who could be setting us over the top. Another important thing is A, we don't want to panic and drop players, trade players who could be really good on the year. But B, we also don't want to lose out on players that we drafted at good value. We drafted for a reason and trade them at their peak value after 1 week. Like we could see multiple performances out of Tua throughout the year, like we saw in week one. And I still think Burrow is going to have a good year. I'm not worried about Burrow, and if anything, if you can keep the Tua Tyreek connection away from another team, it might benefit you. So Tua and Richardson, I mean, hey, we also don't want to overreact to week one, but I think right now you just hold. You just hold. It's close though. Chat, what do you think? Tua or Burrow? All right, and T Higgins, 8 targets. That's the big thing. That's the positive news, right? The 0 receptions was the bad news. So I try to flip Judy for different flex. I mean, I think he's actually a good buy low opportunity. So if you own him, maybe kind of see what comes your way. But yeah, I think other than that, if you don't get the right value, you hold him. Lost by 1.9 because Cook didn't get the ball. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. A-Rich prediction. Yeah, I mean, you're all over him. I just wasn't quite there. Told you Colts weren't going to get steamrolled. Yeah, I mean, they played much better than I thought they would. They still lost by double digits, though. Trade question: 2 keeper full PPR. I get Josh Jacobs and Freiermuth. He gets ETN. Oh, I have Waller tight end. Who else do you have at running back? Is the important thing here. I do like ETN this year. I have all offseason, so it's still close. But Jacobs, if you can buy Jacobs low, it's probably worth doing. But I don't know. Freiermuth looked good. He got a little dinged up, but he'll be okay. But I mean, he had a touchdown. Didn't have a tremendous amount of points, but he still had a touchdown, which is all you can really ask for right now. Waller's gonna be better than he was in week 1. But I mean, he did lead the team overall in targets and receptions and averaged 12 yards per reception. So I wouldn't panic on Waller. And if you need to lean on him, I think that's fine. But you get good. I mean, I don't know. I'd consider this trade if you like it, but it depends on the rest of your running backs. By the way, what's up, Access? Good to see you, bro. Have a good example. Would it make sense to drop Mitchell for Algier? I have Bijan but lost Dobbins. Yes. Yes. If you own Bijan, you should be going after Algier, like no doubt about it. Eli Mitchell only had 5 rushing attempts. I think they're going to run C-Mac into the ground. Like, he should not be getting 22 rushing attempts. As soon as he scored that 60-yard touchdown, like, C-Mac should be out of the game. But, I mean, we'll take it from a fantasy perspective. MT did last one game. One game in. Bijan, Najee, Cook, Herbert. Yeah, I would drop Mitchell for Algier. Yeah, it was a great game other than the Rodgers injury. What's up, Chase? Good to see you, my guy. Miles Sanders at my RB2 spot. I mean, I really like ETN this year, and I think he's on the better offense for what it's worth. And I think you're okay at tight end. It's just, what do we get from Josh Jacobs? The potential there is very tempting. Week 1, he just really needed a touchdown to have a good stat line. 48 rushing yards, 2 receptions for 23 receiving yards, 9 fantasy points. So we'll have to see. I don't know. It's really close there. Really close. Chat, what side do you guys like at the moment? Jacobs and Freiermuth or ETN? Colts actually have a pretty QB-friendly schedule if A-Rich stays healthy. Yeah, he needs to start sliding. I hope he balls out, man. I hope he does. Hopefully adding Gainwell or Algier. Yeah, both good options if you had Dobbins. My buy low on Najee after week 2, chomping at the bit. Yeah, I think he's a good buy low right now, and I like him a lot week 2. I think he's going to bounce back. The Browns look good. They didn't look great against the run. Mixon still had a good day, and then the Bengals forced to throw the football. Yeah, Derek Carr, good on deep balls. Rashid Shaheed in the end zone, baby. Week 2 predictions. I'm not fully there yet, but must-start running backs and must-start wide receivers will come out tomorrow. Some predictions will be in there. Sold hard on A-Rich. You see him pulling 20 again. Yeah, I mean, as long as he's healthy, he certainly can. But, Houston next week's a decent opportunity. He gets Baltimore the following week, a little bit tougher. Rams, a decent opportunity. Tennessee, fine opportunity. Then he gets Jacksonville again. Then Cleveland, New Orleans could be a little bit tough. Carolina, and then he gets New England. He's going to have these matchups where he has better fantasy value than other matchups. But yeah, 20 is possible for sure. Yeah, I think I keep ETN. It's close, but I think I keep ETN. It's super close. Travis Etienne is a monster. I mean, that's all we need, right? Should I trade Lockett and Mostert for Andrews? I mean, it depends on what your tight end position or situation is, but I probably would not. Chargers passing efficiency concerns me a bit. I mean, Mike Williams getting hurt definitely impacted things, but I do agree. I mean, and that's just what Mike Williams does, right? Like, come on. I mean, I get it. Like, I mean, these guys are like their bodies go through so much. Like, I mean, they're the athletes. We're not. Like, They need to. If they're out of the game, they're out of the game. But he came back, right? He was still dinged up though. Yeah, he was able to return, but I think that impacted some stuff. I mean, I think the Chargers. I don't know, man. This is a make it or break it year. It truly is. J-Dubs likes to trade. I have Waller starting 2 flexes, so Andrews could replace Lockett. Mostert as a bench. I think I'd hold on to the depth. I think you're fine with Waller at tight end, but if you like it, I think it's fair value. And then like you're fine at tight end probably the rest of the year, but I kind of would rather take the depth at wide receiver and running back and not go off of 1 week. I think Lockett will have better weeks, but Lockett is banged up as well. So we'll have to monitor that and go into concussion protocol. But Waller probably makes things okay for you. Marcus sitting on a trade offer as well. The trade is Pitts and Zerline for Dallas and Justin Tucker. That's so interesting. I mean, if you're good at tight end, you can definitely consider it. You have Chig. Oh, it's so close. I mean, you can consider it and then pick up like a Hayden Hurst, Hunter Henry type guy, but even then, like I don't know how consistent those players are going to be. I don't know what Pitts is really going to be like this year either. So it's close. I might consider it though. It's kind of tempting. Oh, Dallas Goedert. I'm so sorry. I read that as Dallas D for Dallas defense. I'd rather have Goddard than Pitts personally. That's just me though. So yeah, and I'd rather have Tucker than Zerline. So I would probably do this trade, but it depends on who you like. I mean, Pitts, Goddard, we need more a larger sample size out of these guys. So all right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's we're over an hour for the night. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. I got a couple things to do before bed, and I got to be up early tomorrow. I have a long day tomorrow. So just wanted to hop on, recap a little bit of week 1 with you guys, and get some fantasy Q&A, especially after the Rodgers injury happened. Wanted to get on and kind of like get, help you guys out a bit, clear your guys' conscience, and let you guys know it's going to be okay. But we have our waiver wire priority video out. We dropped it late last night. I'll be doing that each Sunday night, at worst Monday morning for you guys. Steven's must start defenses and streams are out as well. So the 2 most important videos of the week are out for you guys ahead of the game. Make sure you guys go check those out. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you guys need. Must start running backs for week 2 dropping tomorrow. Must start wide receivers for week 2 dropping tomorrow. Quarterback and tight end streaming options will come out on Wednesday. And then we'll just go through with, and must start kickers. Well, now I'm trying to think of my schedule. Must start kickers should come out Wednesday. Then streaming options at tight end quarterback should come out Thursday. And then we'll follow through with the rest of the weekly schedule. So, hey, week 1's down. It's old news. Moving on to week 2, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. So, appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. Appreciate you guys asking me all the fantasy questions and talking fantasy with me. What's your biggest upside and downside of week 1? Kenneth Gainwell and then Christian Kirk. Packers versus Falcons, Drake London in the basement. I do think he could struggle week 2. Thoughts on Najee? I think Najee is going to be fine. I think he has a good week 2. I think he bounces back in week 2. The Browns forced the Bengals to throw the football. Could be a similar situation, but they were still relatively poor against the run. So I think he'll bounce back. But yeah, that's going to do it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you guys hit the like on the way out. If you guys are new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you did subscribe, thank you for subscribing. Links are down below. Make sure to join our free Discord and follow us on Instagram. So I don't know if I'll be back on tomorrow. Tuesday is going to be my kind of really busy day in terms of my editing for Fantasy Endgame. So I might not be back on tomorrow, but I might end up having time. Regardless, I should be on Wednesday night. I'll be on Thursday night for an hour before kickoff with Steven. I won't be on Friday because I'll be out of town. I mean, there's a small chance I make it on. Saturday, I'll be on. I will be out of town, so I'll be in a crappy setup. And then Sunday, I will be on Sunday morning in a crappy setup, more than likely. So there's your schedule for the week, ladies and gentlemen. But guys, don't panic. Don't freak out. It's a long season. Everything's going to be okay. We have plenty of time to Fix up your rosters, waivers, trades. All these things are going to matter. It's a long season, ladies and gentlemen. I have started seasons 0-5 before, made the playoffs. Do not panic. Don't overreact. Don't get emotional. Remind yourself it's fantasy football. It's still fun at the end of the day, right? So week 1's down. Week 2 is going to be better. And if week 1 was good for you, congrats. But don't panic. And may the football gods be with Aaron Rodgers. So love you guys, man. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. I'll talk to you guys soon. Quickest way to reach me is dropping a comment on one of the YouTube videos. I will get to that way before I get to anything on Sleeper or any Discord messages, but and any Instagram messages as well. But if you guys do need anything, be sure to let me know. And that's going to wrap it up for the night. So with that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And thoughts on Pacheco? He's going to be okay. Hold on to him. It's still a 3-headed committee. I think Pacheco's things are falling. Pacheco's still the best back on that team. And I still like Pacheco. Really liked him in the offseason. But that's going to wrap the stream. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. Had to give Pacheco a shout out at the end. So, all right. I'll talk to you guys soon. Everyone be safe.